If you are a construction company and you're only fully booked, but you're having cash flow problems, that only means one thing: you have an operation problem. In this video, we're going to teach you 3 things that you can do to speed up that process, to make sure that from construction to invoice to payment, everything is done correctly without delays, right? And we're going to give you 3 ways to do that with AI and automation. But before we start, I'm Christian, founder of Blue Drive. I've been working in AI for more than 20 years. Before AI was famous, was cool, and everyone was talking about AI. I have developed automations and AI projects to more than 200 companies in the past 20 years. So what I'm going to teach you here, it's very simple, but very powerful. So a few days ago, I talked with another client, another construction company client, that came to us and asked us, what are the things that we can do, because there have a lot of delays for when creating an invoice, right? So typical construction workflow works, you finish a phase, then the PM says, okay, this is ready to invoice, then you do the invoicing, and then you follow that invoice on payments. The problem is there is a lot of gray area between those 3 steps, right? There is a lot of conversations between the PMs and the administrative worker, so the invoice get delayed 30 to 60 days in order to produce or create that invoice, right? Because maybe the materials are not there, or there are line items that need to be discussed with the clients, right? And then maybe when we send it to the client, they are not that all the documentations that support that invoicing, right? That support that we complete the phase and all the material and evidence that require in order to understand that invoice, and then the tracking of that payment, right? If that's you, we're going to teach you 3 things that you can do easily. We're going to go from the easiest one to the second one, it's more complex, and then the third one is going to be a super cool. But basically what we're doing is kind of like running in autopilot. It's a very straightforward way to understand how to do a problem. And in this process also, I'm going to teach you a little bit of what things works and what things doesn't work, right, in terms of AI, so you can understand a little bit how to do that within a process. Now, my intention with this video is that you not only understand this, how to implement it on your construction company, but also to understand a little bit, okay, this is the way we need to think when implementing AI in things that we're gonna see truly the ROI. Because the problem is a lot of construction companies are getting a lot of anxious, they're getting overwhelmed and stressed out about AI, and they need to use AI, but they don't know how to use it. So hopefully this will give you an understanding on how to do this in a way that is easier and faster. Let's start with the first one. So I want you to imagine this, right? Let's concentrate only when the PM says this phase is ready to invoice, and it triggers. That trigger could be a button, could be a message, could be a WhatsApp message, whatever it is, right? Telegram message, whatever it is. It says this is ready to do. The AI will grab that information and will create 2 things. We'll create the invoice and all the supporting materials through that for that invoice, right? Now, your admin work, the only thing we'll do is to review everything. Just review. We'll speed up the process. We review the documentations, review the invoice, and then they will say, yes, this is good. And then the AI will send that to the client the way that the client used to get to know. That could be by email, uploading to a system that they have, whatever is the process, right? And then after that, the only thing the AI does is just follow up with emails to track that operation. There are 3 things that the AI needs in this element, right? The first one is that the AI needs to be connected to everything related, whatever you're using as a project manager or ERP, or to track your construction work, right? It needs to have access to all that data. It needs to have access to all the image, all documents. And also what is more important, which a lot of people forget, is need to have access to the contract of that construction. So when you have all that, you train that, you contextualize the AI with that, right? And then after contextualizing the AI, you just basically give them the 3 options to, okay, create the emails, create the documents, and things like that. That is very straightforward, and I'm going to teach you 3 things that you need to do in order to do this, and then you can apply this in every single part of your business. But the most important part is that you need to understand what's the outcome, what's the context, and what's the voice on that, right? So what I mean with the outcome is do you have a template of those supporting materials that goes to the invoice? Do you have a template on what the invoice will look at? You need to pass that to the AI in order to support, so the AI can understand how is going to produce those documents. And the third piece is the context. So you need to provide all the context about the job site, all the information, the more, the better. And the third piece is the voice. How are you going to talk to? How is going to write his emails? How is going to do it in a way that is easier, right? That is the key. So that's the first one. It's pretty straightforward, very easy. You can do this with 2 or 3 ChatGPTs or Claudes or everything. My recommendation is just remember to split that in things that make sense, right? So for example, don't pretend to do everything in just one chat or one AI agent, because it's not going to work. The reason why is because it needs to have the ability to do a very independent task, but pass that task to another agent, so the other agents start working on the same thing, right? You don't need to be in something in the middle. So the first one is the one who writes the invoice. The second agent is who writes the different supporting materials, right? And then maybe you can have a third AI agent that basically review the entire process and make edits and things like that, and you just you trigger that process and the AI will do everything for you, and then you just get the AI. Very simple. We have done this with several clients. They love it, and the best part is that they do it using their existing system. They don't have to create a new software, or they don't have to create a new process. They use the current software to do so. So very straightforward. All right, let's talk about the second one. Let's move a little bit back on the chain, right? Now, if you think about a construction process, right? So if you timeline a construction process from day 0 to the end of the day, which is day X, which is it's done, right? We look at that there are different phases that we need to do, right? And usually invoices are attached to each of these phases. In the fix number 1, we didn't think about what needs to be done in terms of this on these phases. We just said the PM triggers and creates the invoice, supporting materials, the AI is connected to everything, and that's done, right? So it's very straightforward. Now the thing here is that the fix number 2 is looking a little bit more. Let's look at these invoices, right? Let's look at all these milestones that needs to happen, because in each of those milestones we are going to generate an invoice, and of course after that we're going to get a payment. And this is something that a lot of people, for most of the companies that we work with, have the problem. They're doing this within 30 to 60 days, which is a lot, because so their cash flow is coming in with a delay of 30 to 60 days, but their expensive materials, equipment, payrolls, etc. are coming in they still need to spend that money in 30 and 60 days, right? So it produces a disbalance that they need to fix. So one of the things that they do is, okay, maybe what we can do is, instead of having all of this delay, one of the things that we can do is, let me see. Sorry. So one of the things that we can do is remove this, right? And then instead of doing this, we say, okay, what if the PM, it provides different updates by audio, message, emails to the AI, right? So the PM provide updates to the AI. What the AI does, it start looking at, it compares the updates versus the contract. And when it looks as the update meets the contract's requirement, what it does, it creates the invoice and the supporting materials. Simple, right? So now, before in this process, we used to do it here, right? When we tend to go, so on fix 1, we start here. Fix 1, we start here. Now we're saying let's include updates on fix 2, which make things easier and better for a process. Now, this also gives control to the company, right? Because it provides, if we have a PM and if we have multiple construction sites, we know how the process is going, where are difficulties and all stuff, and we can trigger other processes that are the scope of this video, but we can trigger other processes that will help you and it will help the business owner to keep control of what's happening in each constructions, how the layouts and things like that. And we're taking against contract, which is way better because the AI can interpret the insights. We can give insights, for example, what happened if we're 2 delays? What are the next steps that needs to do? We need to do a change order. Do we need to inform someone in the, per contract that there is a delay, and so on and so on. So you can manage better the information based on the update and the contract. Now, keep in mind that if we look at this from a technical standpoint, we have one app, we have one agent. This is agent 1 that basically look at the updates and the contract, and then we have another agents that create the invoice, agent 2, and then we create another agent that does the supporting materials. So 3 agents that talk to each other and then can communicate to each other. Cool. So this is the second one. We also have planned. We have done this several times with clients. It's very straightforward. It's the second pass, easiest one. But there is a third one that is way cooler. That is, it's the spirit of automation. Why? Because here we still need the PM to start providing some updates. So if the PM doesn't do an update or doesn't do anything, that's when things get messy, right? So here, what we're saying is something way better, which basically, let me remove this. But basically, what we're saying is, let's instead of a PM doing this update, what if we have a camera, and this is me drawing a camera that looks at the site, and this camera pass the picture, right? Pass the picture, and I'm just gonna picture to the eye, and the eye here looks at what is the percentage, or how are we growing, right? So it looks the percentage of progress versus the contract. And I'm red and I didn't change it, so let me go back. Right, so it look at that, and then after this, it can decide if we need to create the invoice and the materials, the supporting materials. Now with this, it's very easy because now there are other things that we can do here. We can categorize this image, and we can do other workflows just by having this camera, updating, taking pictures or video and then send it to the AI, right? And the AI will. Now, if you look at from that, so we will have an AI that sees, or recognize, we call vision. And then we will have another AI that will create the invoice agent, and then another agent that creates the, of course, and then we have another agent here that look at the progress that this recognize. So this AI only says, hey, we completed floor number 2, and this one checks, okay, if we completed the contract on progress number 2, is that something that we need to execute to create an invoice? And that's the role of this agent. So now we have 4 agents instead of 3, like what we have in Fix 2. Now let me show you something cool, because if you're thinking, okay, Christian, but this AI to recognize is too complex. It's way complex that we had before or anything now. Now, models are very good for visions and are getting better and better. One of the best results that we're currently having is with Gemini 3. And let me show you how this is something that you can test very easily by looking at ChatGPT, Claude, or the other models. But the best one right now is Gemini to recognize those type of things. So let me quickly go back to this, and let me jump to Gemini. So here we have Gemini, right? So, and I can, you always want to prompt them saying, hey, the goal, and let me first, I'm just gonna go before here. I'm gonna put real construction sites image of a building. And let me close this one to have more space. Okay, so we have here the buildings, and I'm just gonna click in image, and I'm just gonna grab anything. Which one we should? Someone that shows probably this one. I'm just gonna copy image here, and then I'm gonna go back to Gemini. Now, the idea is, do you upload your own pictures and see how it works? But like you say, you are an expert PM in construction. You understand all the phases of the construction cycle for a building. Your role is to by the how advanced is the building in the picture, and provide the next phases on the construction. And then you can, if you put you just paste the image that we uploaded here, we wait for here. Right now, of course, the idea of this is that at the beginning you provide as much information as possible. You provide the blueprints, you provide, you know, all the contract, all the things. So it has background to analyze how advanced it is and how the building is going to look. Even adding the renders of this building is going to be way better, but it can contrast, right? Building, and then you can also say and provide an overall percentage progress based on the image, and then you just click it. Now the important part needs to be in thinking, because when it's in thinking, it's going to resonate, it's going to understand a little bit, man. It's going to do a process, it's going to analyze where we're asking, and I'm going to understand all of this. So, and here you go. So you see, first you understand there is a structural frame, which is, if you see the image, you can see the structural frames right there. We're building floor number 2, the slab on the second floor, right? There is a substructure and foundation is 100% completed, right? So you immediately understand if in the contract says when foundation are completed, then there is a payment process. Then this can trigger immediately the payment process with the other agents. There is a structure which is active, is reinforced, and so on, and give you all that, right? Now it tells you what are the next upcoming phases or milestones. Now this is a little bit of them guessing, right? But just by one image, it's giving you true understanding of what AI is capable on the construction company. So you can use these models because Gemini have great APIs, and you can send videos to understand where the construction is and how to do this in a way to do, right? So you can trigger the entire process flow in a way that is simple and easier to do. So as you can see, this is this is fix number 3. It's a more elaborated, but it's not more complex. Why? Because we already have all the tools doing this. So if you want to build, if you want to improve your cash flow, you want to improve the process from when we hit a milestone to invoice and then to payment, the only thing you need to do is to send us messages, put a comment, and we will reply back to you. Or we also put in the description the URL to our website, so you can contact. Again, we have done this with several clients, and the beauty of this is that you're not creating a new software. This is something that is integrated with your current softwares. And if you're using QuickBooks for invoicing or other things, we integrate to those and so on. So it's very straightforward to do it. So hopefully this is helpful. This adds a lot of value. This is a couple of projects we're doing, and construction companies are doing a lot, concentrating on this process. So if you have any questions, just let me know on the comments, and see you in the next video.